This entire game level was created in just one day by 2 persons only. Can you imagine that? It's not just a concept art, not a render, it's a playable level in Unreal Engine where you can walk around. Almost all assets in this level are AI generated, from island and houses to the character. With just a bit knowledge and enough dedication, you can use AI tools to get something really incredible. And today I'm gonna show you fastest AI workflow to create complete game level from the very beginning. You will see my whole process from concept images, creating mood boards, generating 3D models, variations, preparing them for Unreal Engine, and then combining scene in engine, setting toon shader, post-processing, and finally launch the game. Hey guys, it's Steph again, and it's time to push it to another limit. I've been thinking about this idea for a while already, and now I think it's the best time to actually do that. I just got access to some amazing tools, and creating assets is easier than never before. Well, let's start right away. Of course, it all starts with the idea. So I do have Mr. Mark, and I recently created a character of him, which is inspired by Peaky Blinders and stuff, but overall, he looked like a sort of mystery guy, and I really like this Alice in Wonderland universe. So I was thinking, what if I create some sort of environment for him? So here's 2 images that I generated with AI, of course. I just basically put all my thoughts in ChatGPT, and it gave me some prompts and some really amazing results. This is my starting point. Then the second part is, again, we need more images, and that's why we created a whole mood board. So here you can see, here's where we started, and then we started to extract some parts. Of course, this is the whole trick. You just need to extract right parts. I will not explain how we do that. It's pretty simple. I was using Nano Banana, or you can use any other editing model along with ChatGPT to help you with all this prompting, and I do have dedicated video about it. The link will be here. So here you can see all the assets that we created. There are some variations, the color variations, and so forth and so forth. But then we realized there's an easier way to do color variations, which I'm gonna show you right now. But it definitely makes sense to create complete separate parts alone, and when this part is done, we can actually move into asset creation. And here I want to introduce an amazing 3D AI tool, which is called Warco 3D. Perfect 3D AI for game developers from game developers. And I'm not kidding. This is probably the only AI developed by game developers, which is NCSoft, and you might know them by games like Lineage 2, Ion, and many others. These guys really know what game developers need. So what options do we have here? There is Sketch and projects. So in Sketch, you basically drop an image and start creating. You can edit image right away, but we know how to do that elsewhere. Cool thing here, you can do up to 20 tasks right away. So let's drop a few assets, and I'm gonna show you a few cool things that we're gonna use to speed up this process and create all of this in no time. Mesh generation here is quite fast, takes around 1 to 2 minutes. And when the mesh is created, we have a few amazing and very useful tools, such as you can edit mesh or texture. And for example, texture is very useful to create color variation. For example, I can go to texture and say make head of mushroom red, and just in 1 minute I have this variation. Absolutely nice. Another example is mesh editing, and here I was using this reference, so I created this 3D model, extremely accurate, you can see, and I just realized I don't need the slides to be connected right away. I want it alone, so I just said like, hey, remove light on the end of the candy. Boom, and here we go. It's just removed, and that works actually pretty fast. Right away, I just created like the green variation, which is also very fast. Absolutely necessary step is remesh and adding PBR textures. So remesh, whenever you're happy with geometry, you basically always do remesh. You just choose the right amount of polygons and you have the optimized version. And if you need, you can also add material properties with adding PBR textures. One more great example is here with the cake. I just created the cake, and then I realized, what if I just need to remove cherry? And yeah, that's possible. I just said like remove the cherry from the top of the cake, and yeah, here we go. As easy as it can be. But wait, there is even more to increase our efficiency. So we're gonna go to labs, which is the most recent thing they added. We're gonna go to custom workflow, open. Here we'll have the default workflow. We're gonna go to template and choose text to 3D template. So this is basically a node editor and it's extremely useful. Take a look at the nodes that they're suggesting here. You can basically create complete workflow with all steps done in one go. So here it suggests to create models from text input. We're gonna remove that nodes. Instead, we're gonna use image input and I'm gonna upload the image right away. We're gonna generate this house here. Here you can see that remesh is already connected. And as I said, you basically need it all the time. And here you just need to set the value. For this house, I think 25,000 will be just right. We're gonna need to add this file node to save it as a file. And also we're gonna need GLB converter to convert it into GLB. So we're gonna take remeshed mesh and connect it here. And then GLB output to connect into input GLB. And in texture mapper, we're gonna take texture, connect it to diffuse, and also connect all these nodes to file. So basically that is whole pipeline, and we're gonna press execute. So now you can see how it happens. All nodes go one by one, and here we go. We do have the model, then we do have the texture. All right, and here's our final model. How cool is that? Hopefully very soon within this workflows, you'll be able to create variations also in one go. And the final step is to download GLB. Now exactly like that, I created all the assets for my island. Here you can see all of them. Some are really good, especially I need to admit how good it handles styled textures. Also here you can see all the remeshed options, and here you can see some other objects I created and how good the remesh is. This is not the topology, which might be very relevant for some characters. This is just a good remesh. What I also need to mention that it does all the baking from high poly, which for example is difficult to do with Hunyan. I really wish they also have this, but here you can feel that it was created for game developers in the first place, and this is how they position themselves. And of course guys, if you want to test it, link in the description. All new users will receive extra 2000 credits. This is very generous offer. You can create up to 20 assets for free. Give it a try and let me know in the comments what you think about it. And when we have all models downloaded, it's time to pre-process them in Blender. So there are a few things that we're gonna need to address. Let's actually start with houses. So let me show you something really cool. I really wanted to add this mysterious light from Windows. I was playing first 3D games early 2000s, and that is so cool. Like, I mean, something happening inside. How do we do that? We just need to add emission map. So in Blender, it's extremely easy to do. I basically added the asset. So a few things that you need to do for each asset usually is to set the origin right before you export in Unreal Engine. It will just basically save you nerves into positioning it there. Or some of the assets like islands and stuff, I prefer to do in Blender, basically because it's just easier to do positioning and placement for me. You just need to master basic controls and you'll be able to do 90% of it, absolutely guaranteed. So as usual, I just set origin to the bottom object, then I also merged the vertices, and then I just created a map called Emission and connected it to Emission. Then you basically go to texture, and as simple as it can be, I just painted the areas that I want to have emission light. You can see the time lapse. That is absolutely easy. In the same way as emission map, you can do metallic map, roughness map. If you need to control some properties, again, you just learn it once and it gives you amazing power. It is absolutely not the same as creating this from scratch. Again, what I just did, I just painted on top of the windows and created emission map. Okay, so here we can see emission map, it's there. Later in this video, you'll see how I connected and how we get this amazing window light. Next, we did the islands. So first of all, I dropped all the islands I created, and I did again pretty much the same thing, merge vertices, set the origins and stuff. One thing, however, is that I decided to separate the top parts where grass is because I want to paint some trails, and customize the texture in different way. Gonna show you very quick. So since I already prepared my houses, I adjusted scale of islands to fit those houses. That's it. And one last thing that I love in Blender is how easy you can adjust geometry in sculpting mode, especially if you have it already generated 90% perfectly. I just go in sculpting mode and look, I took my favorite elastic wrap brush, and here's what I can do. I can just move the island, stretch up some edges, and it makes the shape more interesting rather than it being flat. When that's done, it's time to make the composition. So I decided to make this step in Blender because it's just easier and you have more control, more options to locate objects. For example, a path for fence. If you are Unreal Engine Pro, you can definitely handle that. It's just my preference here. So you can see we separated top part because we're gonna paint it. So we removed the material there basically. And now it's time to set the position right and add some objects like bridges. Okay. And by the way, as I said, I was not creating this alone. I was creating it with my brother, and he also runs a Reddit thread called Topology AI, and you can expect full breakdown of how we did it with all the details, and we will even upload all the models for you to touch. So definitely go to Discord and Reddit to get a full breakdown, all for free, of course. We only ask you to hit that like button so we can continue to develop great content for you. Okay, and the easiest part is to prepare props. So here I dropped all the props and just basically position them around. There's a few things that you might want to fix in Blender, and it's usually shading. You can see some models do have flat shading when imported. So your checklist usually is to merge vertices, set the origins right, apply scale and position, and fix the shading. So for example, you can use either auto smooth shading or you can add normals and weighted normals. Also a good option. And just copy to all objects and you can see the difference. It make it look way better, basically smoothing it. You might have other preferences, but that's pretty much it. Of course, you can additionally fix something with sculpting to adjust the shape or combine some objects. So some composite object I separated, and then with sculpting I fixed some assets, combine the assets to make trees, for example. Again, for me, it's easier to do that in Blender. Technically, you can do that in any other software or even in Unreal Engine, but I still think it's better doing that in Blender. And finally, we're gonna need to scale it to the right size. I'll drop the house model here and basically scale every asset according to the scale of house. And just like that, in less than 1 hour, I have all assets ready to be imported in Unreal Engine. And of course, don't forget to apply scale and position and set the origins right to not experience any problems when importing in Unreal Engine. We're gonna of course need a character for our scene, but I already have it created. There's another video about it. The only thing I needed to do is to export my Mr. Mock to OBJ, drop it to Mixama and quickly rig it. Then basically take it back to Blender, set back the material, and we are ready to export it. It might be a bit tricky depending on the version of Unreal you use. In the latest 5.7, it's very easy to drag and drop GLB, but I'm using 5.4, so need to be exported carefully. And now we're one step closer to Unreal Engine. So in Unreal Engine, we took third-person template as a base. We're gonna replace third-person character with our character and create new level. Also, we're gonna need Toon Shader plugin. All links in the description, of course. This is a very important thing since I really want it to be styled. Just gonna need to download it as a zip, create a plugins folder in our Unreal Engine project, and just drop it there. Alright, before moving completely to the Unreal Engine, we decided that we're gonna do the basic blocking of houses, fence and bridges in Blender just because it's easier for us, and we're also gonna paint the texture with all the trails. So it was pretty simple. Just put all the objects around the scene, make sure you have nice scale. For me, it's just easier to do that in Blender. So first you usually place the biggest object and then you go to smaller objects. We're not gonna place all objects here, just the base to save time in Unreal Engine. And one of the main reasons we decided to do fences in Blender because here you can save a lot of time by doing placement by pass. So here on the time lapse, you can see that you basically create a pass and the fence parts are located along the path, and that's how you save a lot of time. There are also possibilities to do the same thing in Unreal Engine, but I prefer to do that in Blender. And just like that, we created the fence for all the areas except where the bridge are, and later we of course added the bridges themselves. Also, when you're using that technique, it's very easy to adjust it later. Like this. What's happened next is your vision and placing the object in right places, right shapes. There are very easy tools to proportionally scale some parts, and I wanted to make those houses a little bit toonish, like the narrow base and more wider top. So we did small adjustments to houses, duplicated some of them, placed nicely. Also, let me show you one part that we actually decided to go do manually. When we did all that blocking and we know exactly where the fence goes and where we're gonna place the bridges, we exported all in Substance Painter. There is an amazing free texture asset pack called Freestyled. Also, link will be in the description. We just used an amazing textures and brushes from there. And here's what we do. We just applied the base grass texture, and then with the brushes, just started to create some trails. For these big objects, you definitely can't really generate because you might really don't know where this trail will be, right? So we decided to go like this, and this is not a difficult skill to learn, but it gives you a lot of options, especially for big landscape objects. There's different type of brushes like stitches. We added this sort of stitching along the border of a trail just to make it like look nice. When that's done, you simply export the texture and you can apply it to your object. And finally, the longest part, which took us until the very late night. To be honest, we spent a little bit more than one complete day, since this placement and ideation is really time and energy consuming. So what's gonna happen here? We drop the main scene, of course. Then we set some collision, import materials, apply them, do some settings. They are not the same as in Blender. You basically better to recreate them. Imported objects do have broken collision by default, and you need to set it like to be a complex collision to follow some geometry like bridges, houses, and some stuff if you want the collision to follow. When collision set, you can test it right away. So here is our third person and we did the test right away, and then we can continue to set things up. And not only you need to recreate material, but in our case we definitely need to use that Toon Shader material from that plugin that we used, and we're gonna need to set it. So here you can see all the process how I'm setting these things. Very simple. Then I replaced my character with the Mr. Mac character. There are a lot of tutorials how to do that with AI generated models, even on my channel. That's pretty simple to do. When we set the base with the fences, bridges, and houses, we can actually drop the rest of the assets, export them all at once in GLB, drop them here, and you can see they are all here. There's quite a lot of objects. We're gonna need to set Toon Shader for each of them, of course, and we can do the fun part, just drag and drop the assets and position them right away. This was probably the most satisfying part. Anytime you can press the play button and already enjoy the results, what you're making. This is just so cool. All these assets were created with less than a day, and we have a lot of time to enjoy a placement. And if you feel you need more objects, you can always go back and create them by yourself in minutes. You don't need to address it to another team and wait until it's done. The things are changed and it empowers real creators significantly. When the scene is done, there's of course a need to set some scene lighting, that's some post-processing that will add this magic. So we found a really cool cloud 3D model. It's very difficult to generate something like this because there's like a plain, transparent plane and stuff. Luckily for us, it was a free model. We just downloaded as GLB, drag and drop to the scene, and we set it in our game like this. I just adjusted a little bit the material. That was a little bit tricky, but we know how to do that. It's already look amazing, but we're gonna also set the directional light. You can see how we was playing around. It's not something I do all the time. We also had to watch some tutorials, but we figured it out in less than an hour, and you can see all the process and the final result. We also, of course, added the fog. I think that's the best post-process ever exist. It makes things more mysterious, and of course, we used emission mob in that toon material, and look how cool this emission looks in the final result. It's just insane. When the post-processing set, the very final final step, we decided to add a little bit more lights since it will be sort of evening. So we just added like more spotlights on each island like this. That really made it better. And here is the final result. I'm gonna stop saying anything, just enjoy this. No, actually, I want to say something. Like and subscribe, guys. That was it, guys. We really put a lot of effort into this idea and creating this video, all for you guys. Like and subscribe, drop a comment with your thoughts, and see you in the next one.